Hi everyone. So someone on X asked me this question yesterday and I promised him that I was going to answer him today with a video. And the question he asked was that what's the precise moment where the cost of fixing a bad code is cheaper than the cost of living with it? But before I answer the question, if you haven't watched the video, kindly watch it so that you can understand the concept of this video better. So this is a common issue and I feel it needs to be addressed now. And the rule I usually follow is called the three strike rule. What this rule is going to tell you is that if you see any of the strike in any of your code, you know that you just need to refactor your code at that moment. If you not refactor your code at that moment, your code is definitely going to give you challenge or challenges in the future. The first logic is called the rule of three or the copy paste trap. What this rule is simply telling you is that you find yourself copy pasting the same logic in your code in more than two places. Your code needs to be factored. For example, if you have a data formatting logic in one part of your code and you find out that you need that same data formatting code in another part in your code or something related to that data formatting logic, you copy the data formatting logic that you wrote in the first aspect of code, you pasted it in the second one, that one is allowed, you can accept it. But if you now find out that you still need that same logic or something related to that logic in another part entirely in your code, you now copy the first logic that you wrote and you pasted it in the third one. The best solution in this case is just for you to create a usable utility or component. Because if you not later create it, in the future, let's say the logic now later changes, you now have to start finding every single part in your code where you wrote that same logic. And for example, you just found two and you change it in three places initially, your code will fail at that point, and the cost of living with that code is now much more higher than the cost of creating a usable component at the first instance. The second strike is called the 15 minutes fog. What this logic is telling you, or what this rule is telling you, is that if you check the code that you wrote 1 month, 2 months ago, and it's taking you more than 15 minutes to understand the logic of that code, you need to refactor or you need to sit down and study the code very well before proceeding. Don't just say the code is working, let me continue with the project. If you continue the project, it's going to affect your project in the future, and that is a very, very, very bad thing. The final logic or the third strike is called the fragility test. What this rule is talking about is that if you change or if changing a CSS property in your code causes an error entirely in a completely different part in your code, and this has happened to me multiple times, honestly, and that was the reason why I made the video I made earlier. So what I did that time was me just studying the code and refactoring it, and honestly, it worked for me. Now, finally, I have a question for you guys, and the question is, what's the longest time where you spent most of the time debugging a code which you knew that you could have easily refactored the code earlier, but you did not at that particular time? That's the question I have for you. Kindly answer me in the comment section. And to the user that asked me the question, I hope I tried my best in answering you. If you have any other question, also you are free to enter my DM or ask me in the comment section. And to everyone else, I hope you all learned something today. This is your today's Layman's Logic, and catch you on the next one. Bye.